In 2010, DreamWorks released a movie about a young man who was attempting to make his Viking village a little more progressive, beginning with their relationship with their perceived adversary, dragons. It was a big hit that spawned 2 sequels. In 2025, they released the exact same movie with live-action elements and named it the exact same thing: How to Train Your Dragon. I'm Ronald Young Jr., and I'm leaving the theater.
All right, this is Ronald, and I am leaving the theater after seeing How to Train Your Dragon. How to Train Your Dragon, written and directed by Dean DeBlois, starring Mason Thames, Nico Parker, Gerard Butler, Nick Frost, Julian Dennison, Bronwyn James, Harry Trevaldwyn, and Ruth Codd. And as usual, for a complete cast listing, you can go to the link in our show notes. I am not here alone. I am here with an esteemed guest. She hasn't been with us for a while, but she's back. She is my children's movie expert. I am here with
Pamalamadingdong Perez.
Pamalamadingdong Perez. That is how we'll be crediting her in the show. Pamalamadingdong Perez. Okay, How to Train Your Dragon. This is the live-action remake of the beloved 2010 DreamWorks animated film, How to Train Your Dragon. I would say this was kind of the beginning of version 2 or 3 of DreamWorks before the Minions came in and started taking over, but that was through Illumination Studios, which I think was DreamWorks adjacent or around the same area. But this was kind of like one of the last hurrahs, not really the last hurrahs of DreamWorks, but in terms of them and Pixar kind of having a chokehold on animation, 2010 is when things started to heat up between the other companies that began to pop up, like Illumination, before Spider-Verse, and all these other great animated films kind of started coming out. So this is basically a almost shot-for-shot remake in live action. They are following the same tradition of the Disney films. How to Train Your Dragon is a beloved movie. Let's get straight into it. Pamela Perez, what did you think of this movie?
I don't know that I liked it a lot. I liked it a little. There were moments where I was like, oh, I'm bored. I kept thinking to myself that if I were a child, I would not be engaged by this movie. And I was surprised at how quiet the actual children in the theater managed to stay. The visuals, stunning. That alone will give it some extra padding when I rate it, but I don't know. I think there was one scene in particular that happened with Astrid and the boy whose name I can't remember.
Hiccup
and the dragon, and they're all in the sky together, and I was like, oh, this is entirely animated, this moment here. So what is the point?
Okay, so let me first talk about the things that worked in this movie, because I want to engage every point that you said, but I want to point out that when you talk about the visuals, there are several portions of this movie where I was like, oh, there were several portions of this movie where I thought, oh, they really thought about how this worked in animation and wanted to really translate it to live action. And those parts worked. Yeah. The flying scene worked. Yeah. Giant dragon at the end worked. And also, we're going to speak freely about this film because it is a shot-for-shot remake of the 2010 classic How to Train a Dragon. There's no need for us to tell you, I'm hoping that you've already seen the original, because if you have, there's no surprises in this film whatsoever. So let me just start there. So the giant dragon at the end beautiful. Fighting dragon scenes in the sky, beautiful. Dragons swirling up and like dropping food off, all that, beautiful. The night I will show you the world / dragon scene, beautiful. There's so many things that really, really worked about this movie that I think will trick you into thinking that this movie is as good as the original, and it is in fact not. And I think one of the main things that I don't like is that the dragons are real, except for Toothless, who looks exactly like Toothless from the movies. But I remember I rewatched this 2 days ago, and my thought was, when I saw the dragons, these dragons are cute and animated, and so are all the Vikings. They're cute and animated, and this really works, and it works for the humor and the jokes that they make in this movie. One of the jokes they tried to remake in this movie is when one guy drops off a dragon and he stands up and says, "I'm okay," and then the dragon falls on him and he says, "Less okay." That line worked in the animation. It did not work for me in the live action, and I think that's what I started to see. Like mostly stuff with the Vikings, I felt like there was way more Vikings here than I wanted. I just wanted Toothless Dragon like in the animated version.
I think also there were moments where, like, sound design wise, the music was lovely, but then there were moments where someone who was talking was then getting overshadowed by the sound of a dragon, and so there were lines that were just completely lost in general. And maybe that would be different if you're watching it at home. You might be able to hear it a little bit better.
Well, you'll have the caption on.
Yeah, also that, unless you're an anti-captioner, which some people are. So I think, moments like that, I was taken out of the movie, and I did keep wondering, like, when are we going to get to the end, to where the action is happening. I think also when it's not animated, it feels a lot slower.
That's okay. I think that's key.
Yeah.
Because like watching this, there were parts of it where even when I saw the Vikings, especially in the beginning, because the beginning is a night scene of the dragons attacking the village. All of a sudden, because it's a night scene in live action, I'm like, is this Game of Thrones last season? Like, why is it so dark?
Yeah.
Whereas opposed to when you're watching an animation, they can make it vibrant. You can see it. It's not so dark that you can't see it. Like it's visually stunning.
Yeah.
Whereas the stuff that they had to do, especially again with the Vikings, just it wasn't quite. Like, it didn't translate to live action.
Yeah, I have a thought about that. My thought is that as a live action movie, I don't think it works as being a children's movie. To then make it live action, I think it needed to be like PG-13 or rated R in order to then like translate at least the feelings you got from the kids movie, which I understand that no longer makes it a kids movie, but is the payoff worth it to have made it and then it just feeling like it just continuously felt like it was falling short?
I agree. I think so. Okay, so let's just talk about that for a second. Pixar has many hits. We have Toy Story. Yeah. You have WALL-E. You have A Bug's Life.
Yeah.
Controversial choice, but I like A Bug's Life. A lot of people don't like A Bug's Life. I love A Bug's Life. What's the one, Up? Like, there's so many of these films that they nailed it so well emotionally as an animated film that when they try to say, oh, now we're going to make it live action and air quote make it better, to me it's a disrespect to animation. Because it's as if it is saying that I cannot feel emotion unless the people look like me and are like walking and talking like me. But if it's a cartoon, there's no way in the world that could evoke emotion from us. But we already know that that's not the case, because look at the entire Spider-Verse collection. We've been watching those and being like, man, this is really intense, great action, and kind of doing better than some of the Marvel movies have been doing as of late. So I'm not sure justifying the existence of this movie based on the execution is like, to say that they did it, yes, you did it. But then the next question is, why? Why did you do this? What was wrong with the originals?
I think another thing that sucks for this movie in particular is that it's one of the more well-done live-action movies, but we have the urge to just rip it apart more because there have been so many bad ones before it, which is so unfortunate. Like, ooh, why are we doing that? What is happening? Can we stop? Unless it's actually going to be as good, if not better.
I agree with that. And I would say the next part I would say to that is that it has to justify its existence against a wonderful animated film.
Yeah.
Like we really liked How to Train Your Dragon.
Yeah.
We really liked it.
Yeah.
We liked it so much they made 2 more. The lowest Rotten Tomato score of these 3 movies is the third one at 91%, and I love the third one.
Yeah.
This first one has a 99% Rotten Tomato score. So like, for me to make a movie that was that good and then say, you know what, we gonna do it again and we gonna do it in a different format. I was sitting there thinking, you know what I thought? I'm like, the only time I've seen this type of adaptation 100% work for a movie that was good was when The Lion King went to Broadway.
Yeah.
And I was sitting here like, now, if I was sitting in a Broadway theater watching this same story as a musical, I'm in.
Yeah.
But y'all you didn't really change anything. You just added new characters.
No, you didn't go far enough away from the original to then circle back to like good again.
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So if that would have happened, it might have been better. Here's another problem I have, minor nitpicky thing. I don't like that there were black Vikings.
Yeah.
Didn't like that at all. They threw in a line early on and pointed to one of the black people. It was like, yeah, you're from the land of the blackened sun or something like that. And I was like, oh, come on. And the black people are inconsequential to this film whatsoever. They're just in there. There's more women Vikings, which again, I don't know if they needed that. Like nobody was saying, hey, where's the diversity in this fictional film about Vikings? Something that I just completely unnecessary. It's the same way I feel when I see commanders in Handmaid's Tale that are black or not white, and I'm just like, I don't believe that would happen.
Yeah.
Y'all are doing diversity for diversity's sake. It just didn't work for me.
Yeah.
What did you think of the Vikings?
In that regard, or just in general? Because
In general.
Okay, because I think watching movies with you over the amount of years we've been watching movies, you have trained me to be like, we're watching a movie and there's a main character who's a black actor, but for no reason other than like they're just a black person. And I love that. So I did also note the black Vikings, but that there was only like 2 of them and they're just thrown in there as token black actors at that point. But the Vikings in general, one of the things that I noted...
Before you move on,
yes.
I want to say one thing about Nico Parker, because Nico Parker is a black Viking.
Yeah.
I remember sitting there thinking, the problem with casting a black woman in this role is that the things that she is doing and the things that she is agreeing with don't make sense to her identity, especially within this community. Because in terms of marginalization, the fact that she would be opposed to the dragons and not even question the idea of why are we just going after these dragons all the time, especially at one point when Hiccup presents this to her and a response to him is kind of verbatim what all the white men are saying in the community. Just feels like whenever I see a casting choice like that, I'm like, if you make a casting choice like that, you then have to explain something else to say like, hey, how could this woman be doing this thing? Or how could this black person be doing this thing? How could they be on the side of the oppressors? Is there something about them that's different? And I feel like even if you think about the stories of black folks and women who are opposed to their own rights in this country, there's always a backstory there. Yeah. All I'm saying is give it to me. Oh, they were raised in Alabama by a bunch of white people and that was their way to survive. Like there's something there that says like, oh, that's why you voted to overturn Roe v. Wade. Like all of a sudden that makes sense. But if you don't give that to me, then you're just, like I said, doing like colorblind casting.
Yeah, which I was vaguely confused at one point because I felt like they kept hinting at her parents. I don't know if you noted that, but that both of them were just white people. Yeah. So I don't know. I was confused as to why that was happening.
I didn't understand that those were her parents.
That's what I took away. I don't know that is true, but at one point they were just looking at her lovingly and like she touched the husband and was like, oh, our daughter might be getting hurt. I don't know if that's what was being thought, but... Yeah,
I thought the same thing. I was like, those can't be her parents, y'all. Like, you're not going to convince me of that. I interrupted your thought about the Vikings.
Oh, no worries. I was going to say costuming-wise, there were times where I was like, man, the Vikings costumes are so good, especially Gerard Butler, which makes sense because then he's like the main Viking. But there were other times where it felt really cartoonish, and I feel like at that point, if you're throwing in that much money to make that good of animations and you're filming in Iceland, go all the way out with costumes also.
Agreed. And if they're gonna look cartoonish, what you could have just done was make this another cartoon, but that was just exactly. You could have left it completely alone. It's a perfect trilogy. I don't understand what we're doing here. Okay, with all of that being said, we rate out of 5 stars here. I had a number talking to you changed that number. I will explain in a second. Where does this movie land for you out of 5 stars? 3 being, I'd watch it again. 2 being, this is garbage. 4 being, man, that was pretty good. 5 being, wow, that was perfect. 1 being, I'll murder you. I will throw you off a cliff. Don't ever show me this movie again.
Yeah. I'm going to go with 2.5 for the movie itself, and then an extra buffer of 0.5, making it 3 for the visuals.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That is, wow, this is, it's wild because you are one of my more generous raters. Yeah. And so it honestly, it makes me question my rating.
No,
because
I was torn between 3.5, or 2.5 to 3. So I'm in there somewhere, but 3 is like essentially where we're landing.
I think you're right. I think at one point I was like, I said to you before this started, like, this has to be the best it could do for me is a 4-star. And I think for much of this movie, I was like 4 stars, 4 stars, 4 stars. Then I was like, I mean, I still don't know why this exists. You haven't justified its existence to me. I don't know why we're doing this. I don't know what this is about. And then I'm talking to you and I've realized we have the same gripes. I'm wondering how children are going to feel about this film. I don't know that it's going to hit like Lilo and Stitch, where there's an actual child in the movie. Yeah. You know, like I don't know how that's going to hit in the blue, incredible furry blue animal. So I had it at 4 stars and then it dropped down to 3.75. But I think the best I can do on this is a 3.25 because I liked it. I would watch it again. But again, if you gave me the option and said, Ronald, you trying to watch the live action, you trying to watch the cartoon, the truth is I would much rather watch the cartoon, except for a few scenes that I'm like, well, I'll watch him fly the dragon again in the air. That was cool. But I'll also watch him do it in the animated version too. Yeah. So it's like, I'll take pieces of the live action. So it's a 3.25 because I'll take pieces of the live action, but I'll more than likely, I'll be like, yeah, just put on the original again. Yeah. That's what I would show my kids. That's what I would show my family.
Agreed. And I think I'm at the point of like, let's wait to do live action until we're in our 60s or 70s. Give me a good 50 years between the movies so that when it comes back out again, I have nostalgia through the roof. Not this like 10 to 15 year situation. It's not enough time.
It's way too soon, and it makes me concerned about Harry Potter, which I already felt concerns about because of the J.K. Rowling of it all. But like when you're remaking something that is beloved so soon, that did so well so soon, and it's already been adapted, you really have to come up with better methods than just like simply kind of just retreading it. And again, I just don't understand why this couldn't have been a Broadway musical. Like that is, when somebody said, let's adapt this, I'm like, yes, put it on Broadway, let it run for another 20 years. Yeah. Me and you probably would have seen it eventually. Like, I'd be like, yeah.
I bawled my eyes out to the musical of this.
Yes, like I'm thinking about the songs they could have done, like where the act breaks would have been, like, I don't understand it. Was it just not an option? Are they afraid of Broadway? Like there's a lot of garbage on Broadway right now. Like I'm not impressed by most of the stuff there. And we haven't had like a really like hit, I don't know, man. Like, I don't know Broadway. There's a bunch of people yelling at me right now being like, you don't know Broadway, Ronald, whatever. So anyways, with that, Leaving the Theater is a production of Oh It's Big Ron Studios. I mixed this episode, and let me tell you, I'm excited about doing Leaving the Theater for y'all. I love doing this. This week I had 2 screenings. This is the second of 2 screenings. I saw Ballerina 2 days ago, which means that you probably heard it last week. Now you're listening to How to Train Your Dragon. I don't remember what I'm doing next week. I can't remember the schedule that far ahead, but I'm rocking and rolling right now. I feel really good about continuing to do this show. We have jumped up so many listeners. I used to tell y'all about the subscriber count. I stopped looking at it, but I went back and looked, and we're like routinely hitting over 1,000 downloads an episode, which was a goal of ours a while ago. We started with 70 downloads an episode. We're up to 800 on average now, which is like hundreds of percentage growth. So it feels very good to be moving in that direction, which means y'all like the show, y'all are telling people about the show, and we want to continue growing the show. We're like over 200 episodes in. I don't want to stop. I want to keep making it. It is labor. It is a labor of love, but it is labor. And if that means anything to you, you should become a contributing member on patreon.com. By becoming a contributing member, you are helping me to make the show directly, and it gives you access to my vlog. So at this point, if you have not seen a new update in the last couple of weeks, yes, I've been slacking, forgive me. Know that your money is still going to a good place, but making the videos are also labor. So if you're there and you're sticking around, you're like, hey, where are these videos at? Don't worry, they are coming. But hopefully, I got really industrious recently and I made one or even two, because there's plenty of stuff to be watching. We got a summer jam-packed full of movies, and I want to keep making them for y'all. So if that is of interest to you, if that means something to you, if you want to contribute to a good cause, go to patreon.com/leavingthetheater or go to the link in our show notes. Show art from Heather Wilder. Theme music by the mysterious Breakmaster Cylinder. For more information about how to train your dragon or Pamalamadingdong Perez, check out our show notes. You can follow me on Instagram, Blue Sky, TikTok, Threads, or Letterboxd at Oh It's Big Ron. That's at OHITSBIGRON. You can find out more about this show and other Oh It's Big Ron Studio shows by following us on Instagram at Oh It's Big Ron Studios. Leaving the Theater will be back soon. Thanks for listening, and thanks for being on the show, Pammy.
Thanks for being my friend, Ronald.
Who said that we're friends, Pammy?
You're my broccoli. So.
All right.